Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktovo, the parent company of Inksoft, GraphicsFlow, Printavo, and now SignTracker. Welcome to the webinar today. The webinar is co-sponsored by the good folks at Supacolor. I am a super fan of Supacolor. You'll hear me talk a little bit about them. We have a very close association with the Inktovo family of brands in Supacolor, and we're a customer. And you'll see me wearing a lot, if you're at trade shows, you'll see us wearing Supacolor transfers on all of our trade show uniforms. And can't say enough good things about Supacolor. So what is the topic today? Selling joy, maximize your holiday sales for decorated apparel. This is what we're going to talk about today. Trend spotting for success, seeing what's going on in the industry. I call it R&D, rip off and duplicate. But what I'm really talking about is using what other people are doing as inspiration for your own ideas, especially when it comes to product and graphics. Crafting compelling campaigns, how to put together a holiday marketing campaign, something that really connects with people. And a big part of that's going to be social media as well as email marketing. I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks in both those areas, which things that I've learned through all my years of experience of doing things wrong and learning how to do things right. Because you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes, in my opinion. And there's no such thing as a failure, only an opportunity to improve. So optimizing your online presence, being able to improve your reach a wider audience, using tools like e-commerce, selling tools like Etsy, or now TikTok, which is a big selling tool. And then how does direct to film and hybrid transfers kind of fit into this whole big picture? And I have very strong feelings about that because I believe that hybrid transfers and direct to film transfers powering our industry right now. It's enabling people without expensive production equipment other than just a decent quality heat press to delve into the whole apparel decoration space. And one of the things that we frequently see is folks started as kind of a hobby, and then it starts becoming more than a hobby. It starts becoming a business. And sometimes that business becomes a full-time business. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Let's kind of get into it. So identifying trends. So how do you know what's going on in the industry? The internet, right? Everything's going to revolve around the internet. And so going into Pinterest, I think, is one of my top places to look, using keywords like in this particular graphic, funny Christmas t-shirts, using Pinterest to get ideas. And if you don't know what Pinterest is, it's basically where you pin ideas in terms of photos, and people create boards, and they'll add boards with various themes. And it's kind of like a collection of ideas. And I think it's a great resource. And it's certainly much easier to search than Instagram. But if you go on Instagram, which I did this morning, you're going to find all kinds of great inspiration on Instagram as well. And also online markets like Etsy. If you go into Etsy and do a search for, funny Christmas t-shirts or Christmas apparel, or maybe you're doing, water bottles or tumblers, you're going to see tons of things that are going to come up. It's been my experience that the better graphics, you're going to find those in Pinterest because they've been curated by people. And Etsy is a little bit of the Wild West. There's a lot of suboptimal graphics, I would say, when you go to Etsy. And then there's a lot of cool things too. And one thing about Etsy is, as soon as somebody has a hot graphic, and it's the same thing with Amazon merch, people just shamelessly copy the idea. Just be aware anytime you're going to sell stuff on Etsy or Amazon merch that it's going to be copied. And the person that has higher SEO or has a better rating is probably going to get the sales. So fashion magazines and blogs. I'm a big fan of blogs. Just knowing what to search for. There's a lot of great industry blogs that are available. And then Google Trends. If you really want to see what's going on, Google Trends is pretty wild. And we'll talk a little bit about that because you can see what people are searching for, what they're looking for, and then you can tailor your products to that. You also have the apparel industry publications. Probably my favorite is Impressions Magazine. Graphics Pro Magazine is also an excellent platform. Searching through Twitter, Facebook groups, there's tons of social media availability. And then also you can look at some of the freelance design platforms like Behance or Dribbble and see what people are offering there. Maybe you go on Behance and you find a graphic designer, somebody you really connect with, and you have this visionary idea of the world's perfect Hanukkah shirt, and you don't really know how to bring it to life. And you can hire somebody at a very affordable rate on Behance to bring that design to life, and then you can sell it. And then obviously people are going to be searching the e-commerce sites, and people actually do physically go into stores. And so if you're going into, a lot of the merch stores and the mall shops, they all have their Christmas gear out. And, what is Google Trends? So Google Trends gives you the ability to get demographics about what's happening. What are people searching for? Basically, you go into Google Trends. We can pop in there real quick. You go into Google Trends, you can put in a search term. And so I can go in here and put in a search term like, let's do this, Christmas t-shirts. Or you could do ugly Christmas sweaters. And you can see who's searching for what. So obviously, this is over time. I just have this in the past day, but we'll go and we'll sneak this back to past 7 days. And the categories that we're looking at, we're just looking at general categories, but we could go to a wearables category. We can go to consumer category, shopping, be a good category. And we can see what's going on. And we can also see what regions are hot. So right now, I saw this earlier, Mississippi, there's more people searching for Christmas swag in Mississippi than anywhere else. And apparently North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana are asleep at the wheel. Although it looks like Utah and Ohio are doing pretty well there too. And then this is all the different topics that people are looking. So Christmas V-necks. So V-neck Christmas trees, look at that. That's up 250%. So maybe pumping out a Christmas V-neck tee would be a really good idea. And yeah, there's a lot of people looking for naughty Christmas t-shirts, Christmas ideas for men. Apparently Old Navy has some really cool Christmas pajamas. But this is just a great way to get general ideas. And you can always go back and revise your search terms. And so if you just want to see what's going on the old internet, that's I think a really pretty terrific resource. Some of the keywords I typically search for: holiday t-shirt, Christmas apparel, holiday t-shirt graphics. You can play around with the time ranges, adjust locations, really drill down to subcategories. And you can also look at related searches. That's what we did, is we found out that people were searching for things other than what I was thinking of, like the V-necks. You can compare keywords, and you can analyze interest over time. You can see if there's like regional interest, something stronger in one area versus another. So that's just a great little resource to kind of get things figured out. So you decide you want to sell holiday merch. You decide that your strategy is multifaceted. So strategy number one is maybe you're going to go set up a craft show with a table and bring a heat press and buy up some stock transfers and bring a little bit of inventory and start slapping transfers on shirts live at a craft fair. Another thing that people do is they set up online stores, whether it's through Etsy or Amazon Merch or some of the other selling platforms. Now TikTok is invaded with TikTok holiday merch. All of these shops doing lives on TikTok, heat pressing merchandise. It's crazy. And it's all direct to film transfers. People pop up and there's a live person and they're holding up a shirt and they have a heat press and maybe there's an embroidery machine in the background and they're talking about their merch and there's a link to the TikTok store. And you can go and click on that link and buy. I have a couple customers that are selling on TikTok. You want to make sure you're fully prepared in terms of inventory levels and the ability to meet production standards, because they have very strict standards about how long it takes you to ship your product. And if you're taking beyond, 3 days to get something out the door, it's not something you can just kind of test the waters in. You need to make sure that you have production capacity. So if you're going to pick a product to sell on TikTok and maybe to put a transfer on, pick something that's very generic, like a red t-shirt, that you have a lot of choices in terms of ordering an inventory from somebody like Sanmar. And also make sure that you have a source of labor. Maybe it's yourself, or maybe it's your kids or a neighbor that can really start doing the heat pressing, because people move some pretty big numbers on TikTok. And it's not that hard to do. That space is getting a little bit more crowded. If you're on TikTok and you go in and just type in holiday t-shirts, just buckle up. There is just a lot going on in that space right now. Stock design. So why did I bring up stock design? As you're creating designs for merch, where is the artwork going to come from? You could certainly go on a platform like Canva. They're going to have stock design templates. Some of them are customizable. They're probably going to be the same thing that everyone else is selling. Generally speaking, you got your top, 15 or 20 holiday designs on Canva, and everybody's going to be selling the same thing. So that's a little bit of a limiting factor. Maybe you have a professional graphics capability. So maybe you have the ability to go into a Photoshop or a CorelDRAW or an Adobe Illustrator and cook up some of your own things. Maybe you work with an outsourced company, a designer. Maybe your friend is a graphic designer and they're putting together graphics for you. There's a wide variety of ways to create graphics, but customizable stock graphics is a huge benefit. And you can buy stock graphics from a variety of sources. They're available on Etsy. typically in vector format. So if you have a pro graphics program, you can go in and edit those files. Sometimes there's files that are available for some of the consumer tier design programs like Silhouette Designer and things of that nature. But what you're seeing on screen here, these are design templates that are part of what we call GraphicsFlow. And that's one of the Inktavo solutions, which is a massive library of customizable stock graphics in vector format. And the folks over at Supacolor love it when GraphicsFlow customers send artwork to Supacolor because they don't have to do anything. It's all production ready vector artwork, already pre-colored, scalable, just ready to rock and roll. So when you're using customizable stock graphics, you don't have to create things from scratch. You're, for lack of a better word, playing Mr. Potato Head. You're adding things, you're deleting things. You control the selling process because you're creating the graphic. You're reducing any kind of art development costs, so you don't have to start things from scratch. So you can mobilize real quickly to put together a graphics line. If you're working with the customer directly and helping them develop graphics, you're establishing value for your creative services. In turn, that helps clients to kind of lean into you a little bit, like, hey, man, I got this event coming up and I need to pull up a really great idea for our giveaway T-shirts. What can you do for me? And all of a sudden, you got a new customer because they're relying on you for your creativity. And also, it makes it easier for your clients to buy from you. And let me tell you, that is one of the most important things there is right now. You have to make it easy for people to buy from you. And that graphics selection process is a big part of that. One of the things that is frightening to me is when I hear a customer tell me that, hey, I just send my customers to the internet to find a graphic. That's very short-sighted. And here's why. Is if you send somebody to the internet to find a graphic, guess what? They're also finding your competitors. And they might not come back. They might find exactly what they need or what they like from somebody else and like, hey, listen, this online website, they have a bunch of cool stuff. I'll just order from them. I don't have to talk to Craig. Hey, I found what I needed. Making it easier for people to select graphics is really important. And also production readiness. Not every graphic is going to work for every process. For instance, if you have a vinyl cutter, you have to have simpler artwork, things that are typically under 3 colors, preferably 1 color. It needs to be vector artwork. If you're doing direct to film transfers, you have to have artwork that can be replicated with that process. And I think people oftentimes make an assumption with direct to film and hybrid digital transfers that any old artwork can work. And then copyright, people never think about copyrights. Folks think of, hey, if it's on the internet, it must be free to use. No, if it's on the internet, it's definitely not free to use. And also with the internet, these companies that own copyrighted material, they have tools that's scouring the inventory, looking for the digital fingerprints of their products. Just use good common sense about putting artwork on T-shirts and products that you don't know where it came from. So if you're using, customizable stock designs, you're licensed to use them. You don't have to worry about that. And also, you can respond very quickly. If you have a cool idea, if you have a stock design as a starting point, like this ugly Christmas sweater here, direct to film, hybrid digital transfers to maximize your margins. You can call Supacolor today. You can order a 10-unit minimum order with a design that has as many colors as you want. That'll press on a dark colored substrate, 100% cotton, 50-50, any kind of blend. And you could have that transfer in 2 or 3 days. To me, that's absolutely mind-boggling that you have the ability to do that. So for like these holiday promotions, it's perfect. You could put together, 3 or 4 kind of fun holiday and Christmas themed designs or Hanukkah themed or just general holiday designs, order up 30 transfers, 3 different designs, set up a little Etsy store or, set up a simple little web page or through your Instagram. That's great. And also through TikTok. And what's your net risk on those 30 sheets? Maybe a couple $100. But those 30 sheets, you're going to make $15 to $20 a shirt. So let's say $20 a shirt times 30, that's $600 in your pocket because the shirt cost is going to be $3 or $4. The transfer cost is going to be probably somewhere in the neighborhood. If you do gang sheets, $1.50 to $2. And so you're going to have a sub $5 cost and you're going to sell those shirts. If you want to be competitive, you can sell them for $25, but some people are selling those shirts for $35. And if you want to make somebody a great deal, you could sell them for $20. It seems on the low end. And the better the quality of the graphic, the higher you can sell it for. So this whole world of direct to film and hybrid digital transfers, this has opened up all the possibilities because of the great image quality, the low minimums, quick turnaround time, and the ability to mobilize graphics and get them in front of people for merchandising programs. So what you see the word direct to film, and then you see / hybrid digital. What's the difference, and what is it that kind of sets Supacolor apart? The best way to explain it is a direct to film transfer. There's a polyester film. That polyester film is run through a specialized solvent inkjet printer. They print a layer of colors down first, then they print a white on top of the colors, and then that goes through a machine that's a shaker machine that shakes on a powder-coated adhesive onto the still kind of a little bit wet transfer, the white ink. Then it goes through a curing unit and then comes out the other side, and it's got this adhesive cured onto the transfer, and you have something that's very similar to a screen print. You have a transfer that at your leisure, anytime you choose to, you can press it on a shirt. So in that example of going to a fair or a craft show, you have these 30 samples. When they're done, they're done. When you sell out, you sell out. You know, you go and you bring one color shirt or two color shirts, a range of sizes. If it's a multi-day event, hey, you can drop ship right into your hotel room if you want and replenish your inventory. You know, so the kind of the flexibility of this transfer technique is kind of unprecedented. But what is a hybrid digital transfer then? So a hybrid digital transfer uses a different production process, and that process uses what's called an offset printer, which is a digital offset printer, which creates plates, and those plates pick up ink, and those plates deposit that ink onto the same kind of a Mylar, and then it goes into a process where they screen print the white underbase, and then they screen print the adhesive, and then the transfer is cured through a heating unit, and you end up with the transfer. So what are some of the advantages of hybrid? You can use a wider variety of ink chemistries. So you can create an ink chemistry that works on, like if you're looking at the slide there, a shell blocker that blocks out colors from seeping through nylon, or one that has that, you know, like their headwear transfer at Supacolor, where it doesn't show the seam when it's a little bit thicker transfer, so it doesn't show the seam on a 6-panel hat. And by the way, these transfers look great on hats. I've owned several, and I absolutely love them. Type of transfer chemistry that it blocks sublimation ink from bleeding through. So when you put a white transfer down, you don't end up with the pink transfer after the cardinal or maroon or red color from the shirt bleeds through the transfer. There's a wider variety of ink chemistries that can be used using this process because they are screen printing, and they just pull a different type of ink for the underbase. And also, I think typically the color vibrancy, you can't beat the color vibrancy on the hybrid transfers. They can just create brighter colors. They just look better. I'm a huge, big fan. Couple tips here when you're, save yourself a little bit of pain and drama when you're sending artwork into, whether it's Supacolor or any of the other folks they're printing transfers for you. They're going to want you to use a CMYK color palette. So if the colors aren't CMYK, somebody's going to have to fix that artwork. Again, Supacolor will fix that for you. Pantone coded colors. So Pantone is a coloring system. Most of your direct-to-film and hybrid transfer people do not want Pantone colors because they're RGB colors. But anybody that's using the offset printers like the HP Indigo printers, like Supacolor, Pantone's easy for them because those printers have Pantone matching built into them. So even though the colors are technically RGB, the printer will color match to Pantone. And it can't hit every color. There's a few colors that are slightly problematic. Having Pantone colors may or may not be an issue for your vendor. And so finding out a little bit about the colors is kind of important. Super thin lines, bad news. So if you have really super thin lines, the printers just can't print them. They just literally disappear. And so having, a little bit thicker lines, and what you see here is the art specifications for Supacolor, and it talks about free-floating outlines. You can see the one circle R there has a black background behind it, which solves the problem, but the one that's just free-floating thin lines is going to be hard for that printer to pick up. Full opacity, meaning it's not having transparent artwork. They're all going to want vector graphics. You don't want to have custom spot colors where like it's a color that you cook up and then you give it a name. Nobody knows what that means. When you talk about raster backgrounds, a raster background means it's a bitmap file, like a photograph or something that's coming off the internet as a JPEG or PNG file. A JPEG file, it is not going to have a transparent background. It's always going to have a white background around it. So somebody, whether it's you or your vendor, is going to have to pull that background out. And the PNG files can be saved with a background knocked out. So if you are using Canva and you output a PNG file, the background's knocked out, which is awesome. And then you want high resolution. Spend a whole day talking about resolution. But if you look at the graphic on the screen and you zoom in on it, it looks bad and it's pixelated, it's going to print even worse than that. So it's not necessarily the DPI that's important. It's actually the quality of the artwork. You can have very high DPI artwork that's poor quality and it still prints poorly. And you can have 72 DPI artwork that if it's at a physically decent size, like say, 12 inches in any dimension, can print quite well. It's more about the quality of the artwork than DPI is important. High DPI doesn't necessarily equate to good print quality. It's all about the quality of the artwork. And if you're not sure what it's going to print like, if you got an inkjet printer at home, print it at scale, and then you'll look at it and like, oh, wow, this really needs to be fixed. Again, Supacolor can do a lot of that work for you. They can redraw it for you. So once you've created your program and you want to sell product, I think selling product online is the way to do it. And I actually created this, it didn't take me very long. I created this little Christmas store this morning just so we had a visual to use in the class today. But you can just go to market so quickly with an online store. If you want to get some Christmas ideas out there, you can go to market just rapidly. If you're brick and mortar and you want to reach outside the local area, people aren't going to ask you where you're from. They just found the graphic and the product that they loved and they want to buy it. And oh, by the way, it's coming from Connecticut. It's coming from San Jose. It's coming from Scottsdale. You can also, with e-commerce, you can collect demographic information so you know what's selling. You can get reports. You can tweak your products. You can reach underserved markets. So if you have a little niche that you've carved out that's not maybe getting as much attention as some of the big niches, create stores and experiences for those people. And then also you're controlling the customer's buying experience and expediting the purchasing process, which is really important. When you're creating a store, there's just some good common sense ground rules. Make sure you have a layout that's easy to navigate. You don't need a complicated store. You just need a store that's visually pleasing, easy to navigate, and most importantly, works on a phone or a tablet. It absolutely has to be mobile responsive. So depending upon what e-commerce tool you're using, you need to make sure you have one that can create a website that'll look good on a phone. And most of the professional ones these days can do that. I'm a big fan of grouping products by category, so you put all your wearables together, your headwear together, maybe drinkware together. Branding, the way the store looks, the color themes that you're using, the fonts, the logos, it has a really big impact in terms of people hit that store and it looks good, they're going to be more inclined to purchase. If they hit your store and it looks tacky, they're probably not going to buy from you. Consider production processes and minimum order quantities. So if you're doing screen printing, you're not going to be able to do small production runs because you have to set up screens and maybe run a store for a period of time, collate all the orders, bulk produce them. Again, direct to film hybrid transfers are perfect for this. Absolutely perfect. And then choose a fulfillment model based on your production capacity. So bulk ordering versus print on demand. What do I mean by that? So bulk ordering would be you would run a store. Let's say you were going to create a store for Inktovo, and you have a mascot, which is the Inktovocado, and your design team decided to do a Grinch version, the Grinch Tavocado, and everybody loved it, and we wanted to put it on merch. We could do a bulk ordering store where I could just have people go to that store for a period of time, and then I'd close the store, I'd collate all the orders together, and we'd build them and produce them in bulk. Or people will do print-on-demand stores. So maybe you have sublimation equipment, your own direct-to-film printer, or DTG print equipment, or maybe even a vinyl cutter, where you can literally get one order and produce it and ship it the next day. And I think with direct-to-film transfers, you can do pretty darn close to print-on-demand. You just have the risk of the minimum order quantity. So let's say you just bought in 10 of your one design, and you start getting down to 5, maybe you reorder 50 or 100 because you really see it blown out. Consider outsourcing production to offer a broader product mix. So you can outsource your production through like a Printful or some of these print-on-demand folks. Just bear in mind, they're going to be making the lion's share of profit. If you have a shirt that you're selling for $25 through, say, Amazon merch, and you have that connected to Printful or maybe through Etsy, you're going to probably be making around $3 to $4 a shirt. If you're doing really well, you might be making $5 or $6 a shirt versus costs you $5 to make and you're selling it for 25, you're making $20 a shirt. But here's the thing, when you're doing outsourcing and doing, third-party fulfillment folks, guess what? You don't have to do anything. You're just collecting a check. So there's benefits to that. I'm going to get into a little bit on the social media, and then we're actually going to make some things. You have to promote what you're doing through social media. And I know a lot of times you don't have, not everybody's got a big social media following. Establishing a foothold on social media, specifically Instagram and Facebook, is critical to any decorated apparel or promotional business. It has to be one of your primary goals, because that's the easiest way to launch a campaign. And with Facebook, it's even easier because you can pay for Facebook ads, and you can do that on a very granular level. You can say, hey, I only want to sell Christmas themed merch that is tailored to the 4 local high schools in my area. And you have all the keywords, and you can purchase a advertising campaign just for that, really narrow down. And we have clients that do really, really well doing that, but you have to know the game and know how to keyword and what markets and demographics to hit. Anytime you're on social media, you want to make sure you're on a publishing schedule. I talk to so many folks that just, I just post when I feel like it. No, you get on a schedule, set a alarm in your phone. And especially if you're already in the wearables business, every time you produce something that you're proud of, it looks cool, take a photograph of it, maybe put your kids in it or a friend in it, or have the customer hold it up, take a photo, and then put that in your Instagram. People love to see what's going on, and that's the best form of free advertising that you can get. Video is even better. If you shoot a video of the customer holding it up with a big smile, that's even better. Make it personal. Tag your customers to posts. If you're featuring a customer, tag them, because then you get that much more exposure, and then they can, repost you. And then you always want to use hashtags. So if you don't know anything about hashtags, you want to learn up on hashtags. And the best way to learn up on hashtags is find really successful Instagram accounts and Facebook accounts and copy the hashtags that they're using. That's perfect way to do it. Email marketing. And if you're selling online through e-commerce, you are collecting emails on everybody. But then being able to go back to your customers with, hey, listen, we came up with this really cool little holiday promotion. A lot of times companies have events that they do around the holidays, Christmas parties. We can actually do a themed merchandise program for your employees. We can do a really fun theme, and we can do a mug for you guys or a tumbler, and then we can do a fun, ugly Christmas sweater layout, has a little bit of corporate identity. Being able to send an example of that to your customers is huge. And email campaigns are the way to do it. And it was interesting. I was on MailChimp's website today, which is a company that I think just does a phenomenal job. And the first thing you see is they're comparing themselves to the other platforms. We actually use HubSpot personally in our organization, but it's not geared for consumer level or small businesses. You can get a free MailChimp account, and it's not a huge number of users, but under 1,000 users. The advantage to doing it through somebody like MailChimp is you're not going to get tagged as a spammer. If you're just cutting and pasting, blind emails into a, email and zipping out of Google Mail or Outlook, your emails are not going to get through. They're going to get tagged as spam, and you're just not going to have a lot of traction, so to speak. So using somebody that's like MailChimp or HubSpot or Constant Contact is another one, is going to achieve a much higher open rate for you. And again, if you're doing HTML-based emailing, it's got to work on a mobile device. You got to be able to see it on your phone. I'm a big fan of call to action. Hey, we have a sale. That sale ends on. When you're doing emails, keep an eye on your performance statistics. All the good email tools like Intuit's, MailChimp will let you do A/B testing. So you can send out 2 small batches of emails, an A and a B, at different times of the day with different subject lines, to see what you get a better open rate. And then it'll take the rest of the emails and determine that this subject line and this time of day actually perform better, and we'll send out the rest of them so you get better open rates. Be fun with your emails, personalize them, dynamic. Don't write War and Peace, keep it really brief. Use human speak, not marketing speak. Speak like you're talking to somebody. Let me show you kind of all this works together. This kind of concept of a corporate promotion where we come up with an idea for a small business, and we say, hey, listen, we can do a fun holiday themed swag for your business. And we have low minimums, with like a Supacolor transfer. Seriously, you could do 10-piece minimum. What I've done here is I've logged into my GraphicsFlow account. And GraphicsFlow is a massive depository of professionally produced vector artwork that is designed for apparel decoration and promotional products and any kind of decorated merchandise. And so we have a team of very talented designers that come out with new artwork every single month. And then we populate that into the platform. If I come in here and I just say, hey, what do we got for Christmas going on here? And I type in Christmas, I'm going to see all the Christmas graphics. And maybe I want to do a kind of a fun, ugly Christmas sweater type of thing. Guess what? I can just go in here and I can pull up a design template. I can click on it. Once I click on it, I can just go over here to customize. I don't have to have Illustrator. I don't have to have Corel. This is just a vector design. And I'll leave ugly Christmas sweater party there, but I'm going to put the name of the company right here. So I'll put Inktovo right there, hit enter. And maybe we want to make that a little bit bigger. So I'll just go over here and click on edit. And I'll increase the size of that a little bit. And maybe I could even change the color of it too if I wanted to. And maybe I'll move it down just a little bit. And I'm going to make that the green. So we'll make that the green. And then over here, I'm just going to come back here where all this part right here is kind of that beige color. I'm actually going to make that white. So we're going to make that white like all the other colors. So I've created a production ready vector graphic. This graphic could go straight to Supacolor and they could print off of this. They've got everything they need to print. They're good to go. So I don't have to do any special preparation. But what I do need to do is save the design. So I'm actually saving the design in GraphicsFlow, and I'm going to save it under my holiday folder that I created earlier today. Holiday campaign. We'll just call it Inktovo holiday promotion. And by the way, this is now being saved in my GraphicsFlow account. So I can come back to this anytime I want. So I'm going to save the design, and then I'm going to download it as a PDF file. So I'm downloading this as a PDF file right there. So we've got that downloaded. And where is it residing? It's residing in my GraphicsFlow account. It's nice, safely stored in the cloud. If I want to get this over to the customer to have them take a look at the art, I can just say add to art approval, create one, hit create. Maybe I want to showcase this on a couple different colors. So what I'm going to do here is go over to my art approval in GraphicsFlow. And here's the design. And I'm just going to click on it. And I'm going to add a background color. So let's see what that looks like on a kind of a silvery gray. That looks pretty good. Or I bet you it looks great on black. Let's see what it looks like on black. Okay. So if I want to send this over to the customer now, I can put some notes in here. And then I would just share this with the customer. I could just go over here and say, share with customer. So I'm going to just grab a commenting link, and then I just put that into an email, or I could send the email out through GraphicsFlow. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little store for Inktovo. And maybe if I'm going to pitch the customer on this, maybe I build a store for them and use the store as kind of like a pitch store. We're going to move over to Inksoft. So I have logged into my Inksoft store. How do I create a store? A couple different ways to do it. Number one, I could start a store from scratch. I could just say create store, and I could name the store, give it a directory. I'd go through a whole process and pick out all the settings for the stores. I don't have to do that because I have template stores already set up, and I'm just going to take a template store that I've already set up, and I'm just going to go in and clone it. So if I went in, the store I started with, here's the store I started with, which was this quick corporate store template. So this is the store I started with, and I cloned it. And when I cloned it, I told it to copy all the settings from the store, copy all of the artwork from the store, and copy all the products from the store. Well, why would I copy it with the artwork from the store? There's a reason. Because when I clone a store, one of the things that I can do is do a global replacement of the art. So I don't have to go into each product and change the art to update it. I just say, hey, change this design from this store to this design, and every product that has that same design gets swapped out, which is exactly what I did. So here's the store I created. Inktovo holiday shop right there. This is the same store. Same exact store. I just changed the colors. So right now I'm in storefront view. So this is what you guys see. And you notice I use the little Inktober Grinch there as my logo. And I'm going to go over here to store admin. And this is where I can see the products that I had already pre-built in the store. I swapped them out with the 3 different graphics that I built out for this store. Here's all my store artwork that I have. So the different artwork that I created for this store. These are stores that are designed for apparel decorators. They handle graphics. There's a product feed. So I have access to tens of thousands of products from 27 different suppliers, including Sanmar, SNS Activewear, Augusta Sportswear, Alpha Broder, their whole product feed, photography, product descriptions, their pricing, their sizes, their color charts. Everything is just fed into the platform. So for me to mobilize a product is pretty easy, because all I need to do now is just go over here to store products and say, hey, let's create a new product. And we'll go and create this heavy long sleeve tee here. And let's add a different color. Let's go with the Irish green and ash. And actually, let's add red too. So I just did that. And I uploaded these logos earlier. So I uploaded it. So all I got to do is just click on upload. These are vector graphics. So what I can do, because they're vector graphics, I can actually recolor them if I choose to. But this one just happens to work with the same color on all 3 graphics. So if I'm ordering these from Supacolor, which I believe we are going to order some of these from Supacolor, I don't have to change it for the different colored shirts. I'm going to just do it all the same way. But in Inksoft, I can change the colors in the graphic to sync up with the different color shirts. So let's go and create the product and let's price it out. I want to show the green, the red one first. And we're going to price this out at 35 bucks. And I'm going to upcharge to 40 for the doubles and 45 for the triples. And I'm going to add a prefix here of ink. So it's just a little bit easier to pull up the Inktober products in a report just because I have a prefix ink. And I'm just going to hit finish. And now we've got that product. So let's go and set up the store. So all I had to do to set up the store is go into the style editor, and then I just went over here on this object. So I changed the navy into red. I changed all of the purple into the green, same idea. Notice under navigation, I used to have Create because I had the Inksoft Designer built in here, but I remember I turned that off. And then I have this running as a fundraising kit. So I can go and set up the amount of money that we want to raise. I can set it up as a fixed percentage of everything that's sold, a percentage of profit, or as a fixed amount by product if I want to. Here's a little description of the fundraiser, and I can set up an end date. So this, you got to get your orders in by, let's see, December 15th. That's pretty fair. And Arizona time. So I got a little fundraiser, so the employees know that we're giving a percentage of this to our favorite charity. And here's some products. Remember I did the global art swap? And so here's the products from the other store with the global art swap. So they all have these logos, but I also went in and changed the colors of the product. So this was originally in the other store, it was purple. Then I changed it to green and red. And then let's add our new product. So we'll just say, hey, let's add that new product. We're going to feature that. And we're going to go over here and change this to the red. So it's going to be the red background color right there. And we're going to manage products. And there it is right there. Hit done. I think this is going to look better in green. I'm going to change it to green. And then I want to feature this at the top. So whoop, drag it up there, hit done. And that looks better as red. That's it. That's how easy it is to create a store. There's nothing more to it. What I am going to do is I'm going to change this to green. And so we're going to alternate by colors. Yeah, is that Christmas enough for you? That's Christmas enough for you. So save and publish. So now customer wants to buy this. All they got to do is go and click on it. Here's the price. They pick out their style and their color, their size, quantity, add it to a cart. They can go back and continue shopping, add more products so they can view it in their cart. They can go to the checkout, apply. Under payment, arrange payment later, or they can pay in advance, either way. And I just got notified that there's an order. That order in Inksoft is going to go into my Inksoft order manager, and it's probably pending approval because I probably set this up so that every order has to be approved manually before we go into production, because that's a rule I set up for that store. So it allows me to look at this to make sure, hey, looks legit, and I'm going to go ahead and approve it. And so now it's just into my order manager, and then I can get it scheduled for production, get it set up on a job card. The other thing I can do is I can consolidate all the orders that come from this store into a single order and a single purchase order. So when I go to order the blanks or the transfers, everything's consolidated. That's the basic workflow of setting up a campaign for holidays. And it's really hard for companies a lot of times to come up with ideas for their employees. But going out with like an ugly sweater campaign, or, where there's a tie-in to part of the proceeds going into charity, some of the things that you can do is you can set up a voucher system where you can go to the company and you can say, hey, listen, every one of your employees is going to have $50 worth of credit on this store. All we need is an Excel spreadsheet with their name, email, and how much credit you're giving them. We upload that into Inksoft and create a coupon program. And so they go into checkout, and their checkout amount, including tax, is $65. The coupon covers the first 50, and then they just cough up the credit card for the other 15. So these are the kind of things that you can do with a professional, industry-specific e-commerce platform. And that's what Inksoft is all about, and that's why it's so popular. That's really what I wanted to show you guys today, just kind of inspire you. You have to define, what the campaign is going to be, who you're going to sell, whether you're setting up an online store to sell through social media, or if you're going to target some of your corporate customers or groups or charitable organizations. But I would encourage you all to utilize Supacolor for your heat transfers. They just do an unbelievably great job. And I think my favorite part about Supacolor is the fact that they will fix your artwork for you. And again, thank you so much for joining us on the webinar today.